Hey guys, it's Chris from the VR Grid, and today we are checking out Grid Legends, which just came out for the Quest 2. And yes, visually, this game is not awesome. It's not awesome. And you know what? But that's not the whole story here. So stick around. I want to talk more about Grid Legends and why you may not want to just discount this game immediately. Alright guys, before we just jump into the game here, I just want to give you a bit of a quick overview of what Grid Legends is. This is the complete game. This is the complete version that you will get in the flat world if you've played this. It's been out for about a year or so. This is the complete game. It's got all the roster, all the tracks, it's got all the modes, it's got weather-ish, we'll get into that. It has all the online mode as well. I'm not sure if that is crossplay at this time with the flat screen, but you can definitely get a race going with all the VR headsets and all your friends. There's private lobbies. This is an expensive game underneath those graphics. Like, this is EA and this is Codemasters, and you know, we'll get into a little bit of their background there so you guys know kind of, you know, why this, you know, they know how to do racing games and they know how to do VR. So quickly, I want to take a look at the single player offering. There is a full story here, and it's EA's horrible attempts at drama in a racing game, but it's there. And this will take you through most of the disciplines and a lot of different cars. And yeah, now you'll see here quickly, there's also a career mode, and this is kind of what you expect. You break it down, you jump into, like, say what you want to race, and there's all these different races and that you can do, and percentage unlocks and wins unlock more races and different classes of cars in addition to difficulty. So you'll see semi-pro, pro into the gauntlet here. So there's a lot to do, a lot to eat up if you are into single player racing. Again, quickly, we'll jump into the social side here. You can see there's lots of stuff. You can just jump into a live race. I've done that. It works great. You can also create a session. You can find friends. Everything works really well. This is a full-on, like, I don't want to say AAA, but this is a high-end racing experience in VR that has unfortunately gotten the visual downgrade. So we'll get into that a little bit more. So let's just jump into a race here and have a little bit of a conversation, see what we see. All right, now yes, visually. It's not awesome. It's not awesome, guys. There's some graphical pop-in, but it's not bad pop-in, to be honest. Although I can see the course, kind of the details popping into the tracks and stuff. But again, as Quest 2 users, that's not something that we're used to seeing. The lighting effects are pretty much just gone. That's the biggest thing you see. There's just no lighting effects, and it really kills the feeling of life. The car models take a huge hit too. They're pretty weak. They're pretty weak. But you know, it's drivable. It's playable. It really is. I mean, the details there on the courses, it's just everything's been cranked down. And this is my concern. There's two ways of approaching a VR game, not just racing, but a VR game in general. And that is, you build it from the ground up for the title or the platform that you have to have it run on. So there's optimizations to be done, even if you're on PC. But on the PSVR, we saw it with Drive Club and Dirt, which was also made by Codemasters and EA, that they designed things from the ground up so that they performed well in VR. And that means you create original assets, you play tricks here and there. And what I feel like they've done with this is the other approach, and that is, you just turn everything down graphic-wise until it runs. You just keep turning it down. You keep turning down the detail. Now, the draw distance is, you know, it's there, it's playable. I can see the cars, I can see the courses. The fog is not too bad. You know, it's all playable, but it's got a lot of fuzzy, sharp edges. The detail is definitely been pulled down everywhere, including the car. Even in Drive Club on the PSVR, the cars looked amazing. It was the outside, and it almost, like, didn't match. That is something you could almost say, at least the cars look like the outside does. But, you know, it's still there, and playing in VR in a racing game is a blast. And they've still managed to maintain that to a certain degree. You know, one thing that's important to mention, I think, that's kind of irritating when we're talking about graphics, is that I think a lot of people's complaints about the graphics are you know, more of a disgruntled the fact that there's no option other than the Quest 2 version. Because I feel like if you're a Quest 2 player, you know, like this is, all you've got is a Quest 2. This is as good as it's going to get. I hate to say it, most likely, you know, and you're working within the limitations that you have, and this is a complete offering. And like I said, it's priced right. Now, for those of us who have PC options, you know, it's frustrating because this game is the complete game, and we'd love to see it in all its graphical greatness. And I'll show you guys briefly kind of where PC guys are coming from when they are so disappointed with this game. It's just seeing what we have raced on, and I'll show you guys that now. And then here we are back on the Quest, and you know, it's a downgrade. The lighting effects gone, and you know, it's a little disappointing, I guess. You know, I'm torn. Like I said, I feel like it's to be expected. So, you know, there's that. But again, back to the one thing though about graphics is the download size is 31.5 gigs. That's huge. And considering especially that I have Grid Motorsport, which was the remastered version of a 360 game, like one of Grid's big entries, I've got that on my Switch. And it's 10 gigs, and that's with an HD graphic update that you could add to the game, and it's gorgeous. Like, what they pulled off on that game, they made that game, you know, with the Switch in mind, and it shows. And I think a lot of people wish that they'd done that here, because the fact that it's a 30 gig download size screams that they just turned the graphics down, that there wasn't a lot of optimization going in there. So even though I say this might be as good as it gets, I feel like they probably could have improved this game if they'd built it, you know, put the time and effort into really create this from the ground up for the Switch, or for the Quest rather. And I don't think that's the case. Now, one of the complaints I've heard that I don't agree with is people complaining that, you know, there's no VR interaction. And I feel like it's kind of like, well, what kind of game are you playing here? Because this isn't Dash Dash World. This isn't Mario Kart. And as much as you might think you want it, I don't want to be holding the wheel, the virtual wheel here. I wish it had support for steering wheels, and I wish it had a support for like a Microsoft Xbox controller, something Bluetooth, PlayStation controller, pretty much anything. That would be nice, because even though there's analog sticks on the Quest too, they're small sticks. They have a small throat. And so, you know, nuance is a little bit difficult when it comes to controlling, but I don't want to be using VR controls and shifting gears virtually, and that sounds fun, but this is a competitive race game, and I mean, they could have put that option in there for shits and giggles, but I don't want to race that way. I mean, I have seen that done. The Switch has gyro controls for racing, and you know, it works in that capacity, but because it has the same problems with small throw sticks. And I mean, that would have been nice, I guess, to see them implement that, just maybe gyro controls in the controller using the motion. I don't want to be grabbing the wheel. That's just, it's not a good racing experience. It really isn't at the end of the day. So I guess it kind of is what it is. Now, if you have never played a grid game, basically what it is a bunch of racing disciplines. So it's a scatter shot of different cars and different racing disciplines, and it's a focus on racing cars. So you're not going to see a lot of road cars here. You'll see racing versions of said road cars. If you go into class, you'll see all the different classes of cars. Now, within these classes, they all have preset cars. So, you know, if you're into, say, muscle cars, you'll find that there is a handful of muscle cars. For example, this. That's it. That's what there is for muscle there, and that's kind of older muscle, I guess, if you want to call it that, because if you go to pro muscle, you'll see there. But that's all there is within that category. Now, there's lots of that, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But you'll see we've picked a class, and then here's the cars that we have to choose from. Now, location-wise, there's quite a few courses here on offer. You'll see that we have some known courses, but most of them are just listed by the city that they're in, which is a little unfortunate. But like Mount Panorama, there you go. There's an actual official race course. It's actually one of Bathurst is one of my favorite courses to race. So that's awesome to see that present in the game. So there's quite a few courses here. In addition, you can choose conditions on all of those courses. There's no night mode. There is weather, but I'll tell you that the weather effects are... Well, we'll take a look at that as we start to show you a few more races. But I just wanted to give you an idea of kind of what there is content-wise here. All right, now jumping into another race. I might have said there was no night racing. There is night racing. And I'm actually stunned at that. This is probably going to be one of the better visual experiences that you can have. It looks a lot better at night. It covers up some of the issues. Right now I'm driving a Ferrari. It's fast, it's awesome, it's fun. And that's the thing about this game. Now, if you guys don't know, I'm a bit of a racing fanatic in VR and out. I've got a racing rig, and so I enjoy all types of racing games. I've been crushing Need for Speed Unbound right now, but I definitely lean more towards sim games. Now, this is what I would call simcade. Any of you guys have ever played Drive Club, especially Drive Club VR? This will be quite comparable to that, not only in the types of cars and races that it seems to focus on, but mainly the way the cars handle. They're very drifty, kind of regardless of the car. There's a bunch of assists you can turn on and off, but the game still leans pretty heavily towards that arcade discipline. But it's fun. And that's the thing. It plays like Grid Legends, and that's either going to be a good thing or a bad thing. And to me, that's a separate conversation outside of whether this is a good VR game or not. When it comes to the visuals, again, I think it's important to just remember what headset you're playing this on, and that is a mobile standalone VR device. And racing games are hard. Visually, they're a lot of work for developers to work on, because not only do they have to worry about speed, because it's a fast game, they got to keep the frame rate up, they got to worry about draw distance, they've got to worry about all of the physics that need to go into these games, and physics in racing games take a real toll on the GPU of any hardware. So I feel like on a system with these types of limitations, you either get the racing game on the hardware and you got to tone the graphics way down to get it to run, or you get GT Sport, which anyone who had a PSVR knows that game got scaled right down to just 1v an NPC, not all the courses, no full grid racing, no online racing, and the director of that game straight up said it was because of the PS4, which is, within spitting distance of the Quest 2 in power, just could not handle the game full on with the visuals that they were proud of. And so it kind of came down to, you either got visuals or you got a full grid and online racing. And it seems that EA and Codemasters has decided to go for the former. And I guess you just choose what you get, because on GT Sport we got minimal racing. Here you've got the full game, but you've got a huge visual downgrade. And so I guess EA and Codemasters decided to try to deliver the full experience and not so much on the visual side of things. I think they really had no choice on the Quest 2. And that means all there is different racing disciplines. And some of them are just a blast. That's the thing. It's still fun. Do the graphics get in the way of the fun factor? Yeah, sometimes they do. But you get used to it to a certain degree. Now, sound-wise, again, this is, like I said, this is a EA Codemasters game, so it's got some money behind it, and the sounds are good. They're not great. They are good. I will say that there's, in the options, you can see that they've turned off dynamic sound. I would say that that's very noticeable. In fact, the 3D audio is kind of pretty weak here. I don't hear a lot of vehicles coming up behind me and around me. But the tire screeches, the car sounds, they're all pretty on point. I wouldn't say they're the best. Some of the cars, it's a little hit or miss. Not all the cars sound like they probably should, like a Shelby Cobra. The 67 Cobra doesn't sound like a 67 Cobra, but it still sounds authentic. I guess we should talk about AI. The AI is pretty good. You can dial them back and forth. They can be pretty aggressive. But again, this is aggressive. This is like I said, this is Grid Legends. It's a grid game, and so the AI in that game was competent, and that's followed through over here. This is that game. Man, the sense of speed is here though. And like I said before, definitely a better looking game at night. But yeah, there's weather. There's weather. Kinda, sorta. Okay, so this is the rain. You can hear the rain. I can hear the rain. And that's all. So there's rain in the driving effects, I'm going to assume. But that is about it. So there's weather, kinda. You know what? I appreciate the attempt. Because given the graphics, you know, I don't think we were going to get weather effects. But you know what? I want to talk about the graphics again. One of the things that I love about VR is the sense of scale. You're in the car. I'm in the car. I feel the car around me. And I love that. And they still have that in here. And the cars feel big. Like when you come up on a full-size car, you're not playing this on... Ooh, that rain. And a Viper. Yep. Anyways, you know, you feel the size of a car when you come up on them in traffic. This is not flat screen racing. And so you feel that car around you. And when you come up on a competition, a competitor rather, they're big. It feels like a full-size car next to you. You feel that weight of the car next to you. And I absolutely love that about VR racing, and they've got that here. You can do here's a 20-car oval race under the NASCAR category, and so you know, I'm not going to say if this is a great NASCAR race. I don't think that this the arcade nature of this game really lends itself to that, but here it is. That's 20 cars ripping around an oval track. That's 20 cars versus GT Sports 1v1. So, you know, something to consider when you're looking at what you might be getting instead of visuals. But I'll tell you a story. My dad used to be a rally racer when he was young and cool, and my mom was his co-driver. And I definitely never met those people, but I had a racing seat before I had VR, and I used to put my dad in racing games. I put him in Dirt Rally, actually, and he just couldn't, it was a disconnect. He couldn't make it work. He was all over the place. He drove like an old man. And then I got Dirt Rally on my PSVR, and I threw him in that with also a force feedback wheel, and he was crushing it. It was like a completely different driver. And for him, it was that sense of scale in a car. It was braking points, having that real life kind of distance. Ooh. And understanding, you know, braking corners, and it was just feeling the cars around him, and it was like there was a connection there that made sense to him, and I'll always remember that about, you know, how someone who just was not a gamer at all, VR just communicated with his brain in a way that, you know, it just didn't any other way. And you know, for all of its graphical misgivings, I will say that Grid Legends feels like a VR racer, and that's something that I think is being missed when people are bitching about, you know, having flat screens on the videos and the replays, and, you know, VR interaction. It's like, this is, sorry guys, but like on PC, this is what a PC VR racer does feel like. It just looks a lot better and has better controls because you have control options. You know, it's lacking in that department. But I don't feel like this game deserves the hate. It's priced appropriately. Like, it's $25 and it's the full game. I think that's important to keep in mind. Anyways, guys, I think that's gonna be it for me. Please let me know in the comments below what you think about what I have to say about this. You know, is this an absolute dumpster fire? Am I being too nice to it? You know, let me know what you think about that. Especially if you're Quest 2 owners, you know, because this is a full racing game, and it's something I didn't think anyone would attempt, especially on the caliber of Codemasters and EA. I wanted to put out this video a couple days earlier. We didn't get codes, and then I wasn't going to, and then, you know what, I saw all the hate this game was getting, and I was like, well, you know what, I feel like it's getting popular to hate on this game, and I think that you need a little bit of perspective here. So anyways, guys, woo! This is Grid Legends, and let me know what you think. As always, we'll catch you on the next video.